All right, how's it going, everyone? This is me, Bill, and our friend Daryl.
Right?
We're just gonna, do some. I'm not sure if you have any paints in front of you, Daryl. Are you
Yeah,
working?
I'm writing. I'm writing, not painting. So
All right. Yeah, I guess that's your job nowadays, huh?
it kind of is, yeah. But also what I do for fun, which is what I'm doing right now.
Oh yeah. You getting
Yeah.
ready for a role playing game session?
Oh, what it is next weekend is Genghis Khan, and I'm putting some finishing touches on the characters, the pre-generated characters for the game I'm running.
Nice. What are you gonna be?
It's Savage, Jim, and the Holograms.
Average Gem holograms?
Yeah, yeah. So Jim and the Holograms is an old '80s cartoon, but it's amazing. I think it's still on Netflix if you check it out. But it's
Huh.
a they're a crazy rock band, and they've got holographic projectors, and their bad guys are the Misfits, which are kind of the a slightly harder edged rock band. You know, it's sort of glam versus hard edge, and it's spectacular. But and I thought, I need to run a game for Genghis Khan. I
Uh-huh.
want to do something that'll stand out a little bit. And I was actually talking to Robin Tate Bircher last year, and we were bonding a little bit as we both love Jim. And she runs a game for it, and I've always kind of wanted to do like a Savage update of it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay, I'm going to commit. I'm going to do it.
Cool. All right. I haven't been doing much role playing recently. I've been doing board games and miniatures.
What you been doing?
Well, we got. I just got a hold of Dinosaur Island
Okay.
board game, which is pretty much Jurassic Park, the board game, but without the copyright. Uh, I'm painting up Landsconnect here, and the name of this channel is Landsconnect 1525. So, yeah. Uh, it's been a while since I played a miniatures game with you, Daryl.
No, well, that's what happens. Like we all get busy and are doing different stuff. Happily, Paul and I have run a couple. Like I've. It's been like the mad couple of months for me, but it'll start cooling out in a little bit. But we've been
Huh.
doing
Okay.
some sale, some um, kill team, a little bit of kill team is what we've been
Kill
doing.
Team, huh? Okay. I might actually get into that soon. I I still have my Imperial Guard, uh, Rogue Trader First Edition guys. I guess they're good enough for Road Tree, right?
Well, I mean that's just it, and that's why we've been playing. Is I've had you know actually it's like several units and armies painted forever, and I never play. And he
Oh,
had the
wow.
he's like, oh, let's do it. I'm like, okay, cool.
Hey, there you go. Well, keep me in the circle in the communication. I'd like to jump in.
Right on.
Um, that'll be kind of fun. I've got tons of terrain.
Right. Well, another one I'm going to be doing a lot of as soon as I got my stuff together is Space 1889 stuff.
Oh yeah.
Mars, that kind of thing. I've been painting up my high Martians and some canal Martians, and we'll do
Oh,
something with it.
nice. I got some Tau. Not Tau. They're called Croots. They're part of
Okay,
the.
yeah, yeah. I've,
And I'm gonna paint them up to be Martian. Not Martians, but Venetians.
okay, cool. Oh, that'd be a good fit, actually.
Yeah.
I
So
use a lot of the like Reaper Lizardmen for Venusians, but actually I
uh,
never thought of using Kroot. They're dead on, actually.
yeah. So yeah, I'd like to get involved with that. But we talked about that before.
Yeah, yeah. Poor Paul was infinitely sad because my Kroot beat up his Eldar. You know, whatever the figure is, that's like a badass melee one. I just like Kroot piled it. And he's just like, what the hell? It's not how this is supposed to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you go. There you have it. But yeah, that'd be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, we're super sporadic. It's been one of those like, oh, we got a lunch break here, or a weekend there, and because I've been out of town like the last 2-3 weekends in a row, and I'm gonna be out again next weekend. So it's
Oh wow,
it's crazy.
it's a lot of fun though, getting to go to those conventions and stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's fantastic.
My first world problems over here, like, oh man, I'm always away at gaming conventions. Oh.
Yeah, have you gone to the Arizona Game Fair?
Yeah, I have actually.
That's coming up pretty soon, isn't it?
It is. I think I'm gonna miss. It's either happened or is happening soon, but I'm gonna miss it because, and I just had my schedule was crammed full. There's only so much.
Yeah, it's more of a board gaming convention than anything else.
Well, I've run RPGs there, not last year, but I think the year before I ran some Torg there, and Shane runs Savage Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually where we picked up Jess, who's working with Pinnacle now. She was in Shane's game at Izzy Game Fair.
Nice.
So he admired her tenacity.
That's cool. Years we played a game together, or even role played together.
What's that?
It's been years since we actually did a game. I think the last role playing game that we played was over at Isle of Games.
Oh gosh, which one was that? Because I did a bunch of little one shots there. I played in a bunch of one shots there, but I don't remember.
You're running a one shot. It was like a player decide direction role playing game for fantasy, and so the players would decide what direction it went in.
Huh? I have no memory of that.
Well, there you go.
I don't doubt it, but trying to think what that could possibly be. So, like, I remember Aaron was running some Dungeon World, and Ron's run a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, he's big and running stuff over there.
Yeah, but a fantasy choose your own.
Yeah. He gave us pre-made characters, which doesn't mean anything because that's with any prefab game.
Right. That's the thing. Like, we're used to it now. When you start running at conventions a lot, it's like you're not bringing pre-gens, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know. I have to say, it depends on the game. I've run some Baron Munchausen games, and there's no pre-gen with those characters.
Well, I mean, sure, there's a certain subset of game where if it's not character based, right? Like Munchausen, you're just bullshitting, so it doesn't, you don't have a character, you kind of do, but it kind of doesn't matter.
It's a lot of fun when it's late at night and everyone's drunk. You're really good at just competitive bullshitting. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah. I played an amusing variation of that. It was it used the same kind of stuff as Baron Munchausen rules, but instead of telling tall tales, you were supposed to be telling H.P. Lovecraft style Call of Cthulhu ones, and it didn't quite work, but it was amusing, And the gag was you'd use if you were trying, you had to like run out the clock with your tail because if you got to the end, you had to die or go crazy.
Oh wow.
So you're like trying to embellish it enough to not get to the point where you lose your mind. I'm like, it's kind of funny, but
That's cool. Cthulhu can be fun.
yeah, exactly. Like it's definitely its own thing.
We got a number of Cthulhu version board games here. I play with my wife. She likes the Eldritch Horror the most.
Okay.
And we have all the different expansions to it. And it's a lot of fun. It takes up a lot of table space, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, that seems to be a commonality with them. They're really cool. They take forever and so much space.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't take forever, which is nice. Yeah, your usual game will be about 2 hours.
Well, 2 hours is not forever. Like when I think of a forever, it's like that's like a 6 to 6+ hours of oh my god, not again.
Well, that's a Twilight Imperium game there.
Right. I mean, some people love that. More power to them, but I can't take it. I got stuff.
Really?
I got stuff to do.
Oh boy, I have Twilight Imperium, but it's on the shelf for that very reason. I just can't get people to play. Commit the time.
Well, do a block for Rincon.
Yeah, maybe I should.
I said that's what I'm serious because that to me like that's what a convention's all about is that's where you get to pull out that crazy ambitious stuff that you're like I can't do this in real life, but at a game convention where everyone's there to literally play that one thing that they can't do every weekend, like that's the time for it. That's
2 years ago, Rincon, I set up a Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago campaign, and I was gonna have it as a 4-game campaign, running campaign. I built up all the terrain. I even painted up miniatures and got it all set up. It was all ready to go. I was signed up to be the DM. I was going to do like a 12-hour session.
Nice.
And then my wife had to have surgery on that weekend.
Priorities, like I get it.
Yeah.
That's legit though. It's like, yeah, you made the right choice.
All right. Well, yeah. So I didn't get to go, but I took her last year. And she had some fun. We just played board games.
Yeah.
We didn't play any role-playing games. The last role-playing game that she played that was one I was running, which was a Pathfinder. And that lasted for a good, about 11 months, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Let's see. All right. Oh boy. Yeah, that was first time I actually tried being a DM, being on that side of the screen. It's interesting. I thought it'd be much harder.
Well, so you can make it hard, and a lot of people do. But
yeah.
And it's not even a joke when we say like it's all down to the players, right? Like
yeah.
You got good players, they're gonna make it easy and fun, and that's really nice,
Yeah.
Certain groups might be more challenging, and then suddenly you're working at it like, oh man.
So and I was kind of an easygoing GM. So pretty much anything the players were like, oh, we want this, we want that. I'm like, sure, you could do that. just realize I'll have to amp up the missions
Right.
to level it up.
Yeah. Well, but the funny thing is, and this is something like sort of near and dear to our general heart when we're designing stuff, is like I do that too, but more and more like I question like why do I need to amp that up, right? If everyone's trying so hard to get ahead of the curve, why? Like where's the rat race come from this? Like if you want to get ahead but never can, is that ultimately unsatisfying? So
Yeah.
for a while, what I'd do is I'd like, yeah, let them get ahead, and then it's like a choice, right? Like, well, okay, you got this stuff, and if this is what you want to do, fine, and this is where it gets tricky, right? Because you might have one person that is their dream come true, and then four other people that are like, well, we kind of want to just like play and have challenges and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get everybody on the same page. And be like, well,
Yeah.
I don't want to keep that one person down, but that one person needs to find a different game, right? If everybody else is not having fun anymore.
Yeah. Well, as everyone has their own chance of playing, then I have no problem. I mean, if one player is getting way ahead of the others,
Yeah.
then the spotlight's on them, and nobody else gets the play, and then it kind of crumbles away, right?
Right. Well, that's just it. Yeah, that's what you gotta be careful of.
But what I also was concerned about was, okay, if I don't amp it up and I make it too easy, then they'll lose interest, right?
It can be, but again, like, and that's that. But that to me that's the question, right? Like, where is our difficulty coming from? Is it difficulty that people are looking for, or something else?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fascinating to me. Let's see. I'm working on some stuff while we're doing this.
Oh, okay.
But
that's what this is about, is just getting your projects worked out while we're just BSing,
Yeah, probably a little harder with writing than it is with painting.
All right. Well, then.
But yeah, because I get because I do painting too, and you gotta like be in that Zen mode and have something going on the TV or whatever to at least that's how I do it. But stuff's in the other room. It ain't gonna happen on camera.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it'd be kind of fun to talk.
Right, hang out. Absolutely. You go into the steampunk convention in March?
Ooh, the Wild Wild West Con.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
I always intend on doing it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing it this year. It always winds up like the same weekend as my wife's birthday and birthday weekend, so I wind up doing something that she wants to do.
Again, priorities, completely legit.
Yeah. So it'll probably happen the same way this year. But you hit on the head. Priorities. Yeah, priorities in life. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Another thing I've been wanting to get hold of you for is I've been itching to play that Babylon 5 miniatures space game.
Yeah, well, and so that was based on what I based that one on was my hard vacuum system that came out all the way in the futuristic year 2000, and and I keep meaning to do more with that, but I've gotten busy on other things, and but I originally wrote that. It was Babylon 5 that inspired it in the first place because I loved the way Star Furies moved on the screen. And you didn't see that very often in science fiction shows, and I particularly loved that. the more advanced races, since they had like the gravity and inertia drives, their ships moved more like Star Wars ones, whereas the human ships with our like primitive lower tech,
Oh, yeah.
have the more realistic vector movement. And I always loved the idea of putting those two things like together in the same game. So
Yeah.
that was cool to me. So I wrote it for Star Furies and then realized, I don't have a license for Babylon 5, and so I rewrote it to map to World War II rockets.
All right.
Well, because there were so many fun things you could do with the low technology with that, where visibility was like a huge issue in the spaces that you're fighting in, since they're all just orbital around Earth. You don't have to deal with the vastness, like that's something that doesn't really work for real space combat, is like the true vastness of space makes the like realistic space combat just realistic space combat is there isn't, it's like two molecules trying to bounce off each other in a swimming pool size thing. It's like the scale just doesn't work, So, but if you're just talking about slow ass rockets in orbit, actually trying to hold geostationary positions or orbital tracks, suddenly it kind of works, and then your primitive weapon like guns make sense at that kind of a scale. And so I'm like, okay, let's lean into that. And it was fun. The more I went into it, the less unrealistic it got, in that they had a model at Pima Air Museum of the proposed Sanger skip bomber, which was a low orbital buzz bomb that would hit New York from Germany.
Oh, wow.
It was called a skip bomber. It would do orbital bounces. And so the conceit in Hard Vacuum is those are real. And then, of course, you got to have, radium on the moon and moon Nazis and all that. And Tesla unlocked 0-point energy, because Tesla also like had a design for a real death ray,
Really?
based on magnetic stream and iron filings that you'd shoot down it. So it would look basically like the shadow beam, where it would cut rather than be a laser. And like, okay, yeah, this is all got to be in there. So the Allies get crazy Tesla weaponry, and the Germans get their radium moon stuff. It starts off really primitive and realistic, and then you get the science fiction elements to make it like a game.
That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
It worked pretty good. Like I can't, and it's funny because I go back to tweak it like every couple years. I'm like, oh, like I'll do a new version of Hard Vacuum, and every time I tweak it, I break it, and it makes me, like, wow. Turns out, like I had a very, very narrow sweet spot with this, and every time I modify it, it just falls apart. It's like,
oh no.
Oh, I mean, that's a good thing, right? Like that's like it's how lucky I was with the design that it holds up and still plays.
So when you do a design like that, do you wrangle people in that do honest playtest for you?
Yeah. So my friends, have learned to put up with like, oh, by the way, we're gonna do this thing, whether it's a role-playing game or something like Hard Vacuum that I'm playing with, and they're like, and I'll like let them know up front, like this is going to be terrible, like this is not the finished product. The first time we played Hard Vacuum, it was like a 8-point diagram instead of a hex, because I didn't realize the mathematical magic that happens with hexes and vectors.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so that was bad. And then we got the hex one down, and we're trying to figure out thrust, and we're just, it was like, the comment that stuck with me was, it was like we were playing Car Wars with school buses on sheet ice. I'm like, That's actually pretty fun. Like that ended up being what the game became. Yeah, you're just the vectors. You get up a good head of speed, and suddenly you're out of control, and you're like, oh,
You're off the table.
yeah, right. And that was where the table became very important, like because other vector-based games do the scrolling thing.
Mm-hmm.
And hard vacuum, it's important that you not do the scrolling, and then you get those really tight in dogfights where if you get up ahead of a good bit of momentum, it's great. Like it gets you into position, but it also makes you super predictable because if you want to stay in the area of engagement, now you're forced to turn your main thrust into your momentum to decelerate, and everyone knows that you have to do that. Like your two choices are slow down or say goodbye, and then the key of the game was once you're predictable, you're dead meat. People can just line up and like, I know where you're going to be. There's only one possibility, so you're done for, and that made it super interesting when the late game gets to these really subtle dogfights where you're maneuvering around each other.
Did you set up scenarios for this game?
Oh yeah, I had like 2 books of them. So we did actually I did 5 books of them. So I forgot. We did the main game that had I think 7 battles in it, and then we did Science Gone Mad that had 6 or 7 more, and then we did web only ones because they sold okay. We didn't lose money on it, but we didn't set the gaming world on fire. But we wanted to do some expansions to give people some value, and they ended up being web only ones. And one of them did moon scenarios where you fight the moon Nazis on the moon, and that added gravity, which turned out to be like very interesting in fights where you'd actually have momentum pulling you in one direction. And so if you were fighting close to the moon, like you had to fight against that pull, and that added a layer of tactics that was kind of interesting. And then we had the second one was the Russians, and the seat with the Russians was the Tunguska event.
Yeah.
It was an alien spaceship crashing, and they'd been back engineering crazy gravity engines from it forever. And so the Russian ships were exactly that Babylon 5 thing. They had anti-gravity and inertialess. So unlike the other hard vacuum rockets, their momentum would turn with them, and they flew really weird compared to everybody else. But it was like really primitive and out of control, and they didn't have any good weapons. So they're like, okay, well, we've got this crazy advanced, engine, and then like 20 millimeter cannons, and go for it. Like, woo! And so, yeah, they were our Foo Fighters, which was another thing. And then the very last one was we added a scenario around Japan where they were nothing in the space war until Germany falls, and then for like 1 month they do a projected energy style of fighting, and they launch their stuff and throw a web out, and they've got like a very different crazy way of fighting. And that was all based on my friend Phil Eklund is an actual rocket scientist. And,
really?
And and he would do missile stuff and all that. And he postulated that like real space combat, again limited by the massive momentum that you're talking about. The real space combat, it's either going to come down to projected energy, and he didn't, or missiles, and he thought missiles were way more practical because you've got so much more impulse to get your stuff where it needs to be and get that momentum, and that momentum is dangerous in itself. So you're like, a laser takes out a missile. Okay, well, that's took out its guidance and all that. but you still got all of that mass at all of that speed coming right at you. Actually destroying all of that takes way more energy than what the impulse took. So overall, like, missiles were gonna win, but he had this idea for where lasers and projected energy would be useful is you have a base that would be generating your energy, and it would be beaming it to the ships.
Oh.
And so I had the Japanese style, like, use that, where they would have a base and they would project lines, and their ships had batteries so they could fight off them, but then you had to, like, run back to your beam to get power to replenish, and that made them pretty unique. So.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool, actually. I was actually, when you were talking about projective weapons, I was thinking, the Gauss technology would probably be pretty darn good in space as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, then that's just it. So your downside is no guidance, right? So you got the NASA problem. Pick that blade of grass, up while you're driving 60 miles an hour. And, if you can do it, great. And that's why hard vacuum worked well with. The whole idea was you had to predict the opponent's position. If you could predict their position, you could get them, because you're not at relativistic speeds or anything like that. So it's like, if we can put enough mass with impulse in the space where they're going to be, something's going to hit them and they're done for. And that's where golf rifles would come in. But when you got, like, these massive spaces and this time between them, it's like actually getting your material from your golf ring where something's going to be on the time where it's going to matter. It's like, well, cool, but meanwhile they've had a laser trained on you for the last 4 hours, and you're like, that's not good. So space combat's weird. Like, there's the realistic style, and then there's the gaming style, and I prefer the gaming style where it's all like, Star Wars, we're all at point blank range, blasting away and maneuvering and all that. But
it's
interesting too,
So one thing about the scenarios I wanted to ask you about, since I've been playing a lot of board games, I've been playing like cooperative games with my wife and stuff, and I was thinking, have you ever thought of doing wargaming scenarios that are cooperative? Against the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
like a space station that your players are attacking.
Like hard vacuum wasn't built for that kind of thing, but you could do something like that. But what we were working on a couple of years ago, there was a Conan miniatures game that we were kickstarting it and it didn't quite launch, but I got to work on that with Shane Hensley and it was super fun. And one of the things that we were developing for the Kickstarter were solo missions where the normal game would be like a regular skirmish game, like a kill team or whatever. Like, you got Conan, you got his blackguard with him, or you're playing monsters or whatever. But for the solo ones, for solo play, we either had a card deck that would drive what the bad guys were doing, or you were fighting like a massive monster, and kind of like the old ogre game, where it's like, the ogre is going to do what it's going to do, and now you got to move your units and try and stop it or take away its options and change its routine where you can beat it. And that can be really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's been over a decade since I played Ogre, so
Well, and the other good one for board games that did that was the Gears of War board game.
Gears of War, huh?
Yeah, it was based on the video game, which I love. And so I bought the board game, not expecting much, but I actually liked it quite a bit because
Mhm.
each player would play, one of the, soldiers, gears they're called, that
Uh-huh.
would be fighting the locust horde, and the locust were controlled by decks. So no player had to play the locust. You'd just be like, okay, I do my action. Now the locust, we flip a card. These types of units go and try and shoot us. All right, now you do your action, and we flip a new card. The locust reposition, and this is what these types of things fire rockets. Okay, boom, and it would go like that, and it could be very challenging, but it was pretty fun.
Huh. Okay. It wasn't it Fantasy Flight Games that set that game up, or
Yep, that was a Fantasy Flight.
yeah.
And I think the best cooperative versus automated board game of all time is the old Aliens board game.
Yeah.
It's spectacular. So you got your Marines and the aliens. You just roll randomly to see where they drop, and then once they drop, they just run at the closest Marine, and if they get to you, they'll jack you up. But it was super intense. It was always interesting. It was a great game. But a second copy of it just in case I lose one.
So I got an invite for. I sent out a request for Tom to join us, so I'm going to go ahead and join, have him join us.
Yeah, cool. And I was about to say I'm starting to run out of time, so I'll talk for another couple minutes and then I got to run. So
Hey, Tom.
But I don't hear him.
Hey, sorry there.
There he is. Yeah.
I had the phone go off on me just as you were talking about that. How you doing, guys?
Hey,
I'm good.
good.
So, Daryl, this is Tom. Tom actually used to live in Tucson.
Hey, Tom.
Daryl?
He's friends with a guy named Bill Winsky, who ran.
Oh my God, Bill Winsky, who ran Things for Thinkers.
Yep. Bill came up and we started a Tactics up in Aurora, Colorado, and then 5 years into that, we bought the minifigs range and moved it out to Colorado. And
are you in Aurora?
Aurora, yeah.
But like next week.
We've been out of business for almost 10 years now. So I'm just now looking to next weekend. I'm going to take a look at where my molds are at and maybe bring back the aim range one at a time. It's kind of hard to when you're working full time.
Right.
So we're looking at maybe bringing back Civil War first.
Cool.
And maybe English Civil War or Samurai next, second or third. And we've got a lot more, but I have to go and make sure that if we're going to bring the range back, that we have all the molds there. If not, I have to make some more molds. But at least try to get my hand back in it. I'm looking to retire from the government here soon. I've got over 30 years with the government. It's time for me to make a break.
Yeah, and Daryl's active with the tabletop hobby as well. It's his full-time job.
Lucky me. Do you ever go to Genghis Khan or Tacticon up there?
I used to go to Genghis Khan and Tacticon all the time. Now I'm out in Aberdeen, Maryland. I go to Fall In, Cold Wars, and Historicon, and the Hawks Barrage. Hawks Barrage is very local to me here. Hawks are a great group of guys. Play anything and everything, and a lot of talent in that group, including some ex-TSR guys.
Oh wow!
So, and you know that Baltimore's where Avalon Hill was at. So,
yeah, I have the good luck of working with some ex-TSR myself. My direct report is Tim Brown, who did crap loads with TSR and others. You know.
Well, it's I tell you what, a lot of us are still around in the hobby, and it's coming around the time where we have more time to devote to it than what we had in about the last decade. So at least that's in my case. we'll see what happens with everybody else. I got hooked on this Knuckle Duster Western game. What a blast! What a hoot! I used to thought Desperado was good, Tom Kelly's thing, and that's still a good set of rules. But this Knuckle Duster, the whole company is just high quality, fun, great time, great research. I was so impressed. You see all these other new games that come out from like Warlord and et cetera, and it's just so bloody expensive, and it's a bucket of dice, and it's a formula. If you played one game, you can play them all because it's pretty much just variations on a theme.
Right.
But with this Knuckle Duster thing, I've never done role playing, and I'm finding myself waking up in the middle of the night saying, "Hey, I can do this for a scenario. I can throw this in to make it more interesting and such." So, and I've always been and still am a proponent for the smaller scales, but after saying that, I have a dearth of 28 millimeter and larger stuff now, and it's just your interests go from bounce around. At least mine do.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah. Well, anyway, and it's interesting. Like what we mostly play for role playing is Savage Worlds, and Savage Worlds grew out of a skirmish game. It was Great Rail Wars that Shane Hensley did.
Well, I remember that. Was that Pinnacle Entertainment Group that put that out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually work with them right now. Like that's one of my things that I do. They're great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I tell you, we guys in the hobby, it doesn't matter. We all have to share that common thread, and thank goodness we still have that,
Right.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come in and interrupt you guys. I just
no
worries. I was literally I gotta go run an errand pretty quick here anyway. So
okay, well, it's been nice talking to you, Daryl. When you come back from your vacation, from your work trip,
work vacation, they kind of blend together when you work. You do what you love. It's like same. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, when you come back, just message me, and we'll have to do a game.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm in an interesting place with that.
Well, you know what? We'll do a game that's non-role playing, because I know that you're like doing nothing but role playing these days, right?
Yeah, like and poor Paul gets to bear the brunt of that. Like as long as I don't have to organize it, let's do it.
There you go. I'll organize the game. We'll do a role play, a miniatures game. How about that?
Yeah.
No, I've been kicking around with doing some cooperative games or solo games recently, but we could do a kill team game or something like that.
Well, I'll bust out that Aliens board game anytime, anywhere.
Oh wow! Yeah.
One of my painting projects coming up is there's a new, different Aliens board game coming up, which I'm going to buy just for the miniatures, and then I'm going to build a physical reactor room from the old board game and just use the old rules with miniatures and 3D and be like, ooh, hooray!
All right, that'd be kind of neat. What do you think of the an app-driven game? What do you think of that?
Well, they're fun, but they're super challenging.
Yeah,
there actually is an online version of the Aliens board game, and it's pretty much a flawless recreation of it. I'm always impressed by it.
Wow.
Okay.
Go too long without suckering somebody into getting killed by aliens with me. I'll pop onto that, and it's it's fun. It's good.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Give me a message and we'll get together and do a game. Okay.
Right on. See you guys later.
All right. See you, Daryl.
Nice to meet you, Daryl.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Hey, how's it going, Tom?
Yeah, you're doing Lance Connects?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had to figure out how to get my camera net back up and running again. And
Ah,
I had it disconnected for so long, and my room's a mess behind me. But you know, it's typical gamer's room, right?
hey, there you go.
I can't even get into my closet right now because I was sorting through books and trying to get my bookshelves back in some semblance of order, and I've got crap everywhere. I'm running out of horizontal space. So I had just gotten a triad set in for painting blonde hair, and a redhead set as well. This is from Reaper. I haven't messed with the Reaper yet. I mean the redhead yet, but I wanted to try the blonde because I don't know about you. For me, getting blonde hair has always been a challenge. So I had this one resin figure, and I thought I'd try it,
Hey,
make
there
a
you
blog out of her. And I'm pretty happy with the shadow and the highlighting and the base coat on it for her. So I just knocked that together really quick last night just because I wanted to experiment.
When I first saw her on the screen, I thought, St. Pauli girl.
Oh yeah, Polly, the beer.
Or Port Atlanta. Yeah. So that's where my mind is at, huh?
We just had a new German restaurant open up in our town here at Aberdeen, and my wife and I went out to dinner there last night. You know, us being in Germany for 7.5 years, kind of missed real German food, and I guess we still do. But they had Polly there. They had Polly.
Yeah. Yeah, a buddy of mine went over to Scotland, and he found the only Mexican restaurant in
Scotland.
Scotland, and he went over there, and he said it was the worst, awful Mexican food he ever had in his life. I was like, well, what do you expect? You come from Arizona.
Not even Tex-Mex. Bill and I used to go to a wonderful Chinese restaurant right there on Speedway, and it's not there anymore. And but we go up there at least once a week and have dinner.
Lotus Garden?
No, this was like a Korean barbecue, not a Korean barbecue. Well, kind of. I don't know. You had a circular grill behind glass, and you would go through and pick the meat that you want and the spices and the vegetables in a bowl. You hand it to them. They put it on there, and they take like a yardstick and walk around one time. And by the time you made it all around one time, they scoop it into the bowl and hand it back to you. It was a Mongolian barbecue.
Oh, okay.
Really good stuff. But,
yeah.
Bill used to have a nice deli store 2 doors down when he was on Speedway there at one of the locations that Things for Thinkers was at, the original Things for Thinkers.
Yeah.
And we used great sandwiches there.
See, Bill was before my time, but I live here in Tucson still. Daryl has been in Tucson for ages, so he knows. You guys probably know each other, but don't know each other.
Probably came to the store and Don't know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he's living the dream, going from one gaming convention to the next.
Well, that gets old after a while.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess it would, but I don't know. I've not been in that situation, so I don't know.
Well, first couple are real exciting. After
Mhm.
that, it's more the same. Then after that is, well, what's new in the dealer's room that I haven't seen before?
Oh,
And
well, it's a job for him, so I guess it's not as spectacular as as the rest of us.
but the nice part is you get to meet people and create some alliances and find out who the true heroes are in the hobby. And
Mhm.
to me, that's always been exciting.
Hey, there you go. Yeah,
Well, your
he's.
stuff's looking really nice there.
Sorry.
Your stuff's looking really nice. Whose Lance Connects are these? Perry's? Or
This is a Warlord. They're Lance Connect Starter Army.
well, that's a lot of painting.
Yeah, there's close to 200 models in that box.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That definitely keep you going for a while there.
Oh yeah. Adding to the when I bought the box, I was like, oh boy, what am I doing to myself? But hey, it's all part of the hobby, right?
That's right.
Paint it up and going.
Well, it looks like you're doing a really great job here.
Thanks.
Well, look, I'm going to back out of here too.
Uh-huh.
My wife's almost home, and there's some things I needed to get done before she got home, and I've been yakking on the phone and trying to make arrangements to go back to Ohio for next weekend, 3-day weekend, and see where we stand on this AIM deal. I've been wanting to get this back in production for several years, and I do so much at a time. So
okay. All right.
well,
Nice talking to you again.
Same here. Please, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Now that I can get in here, this is so much better than what the other guys used to do.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
Well, this is recorded on my YouTube channel.
this is just awesome.
So
I like the little icon of the duck. It cracks me up.
yeah.
That's great.
All right. And I'll talk to you later then. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for everything, and I keep an eye on when you do these again, and
All right.
back and watch here.
Yeah.
Well, have a great one, sir.
You too.
Bye
Bye-bye.
now.
And then it's just me. I might just go off the air at this point. If you've been watching, thanks for watching. And guys, take it easy now. Bye-bye.